It's your girl, Carla Yvette. Welcome to Elevate the Good, a podcast featuring organic conversations with good people living an elevated life and loving it, inspiring to elevate the good within you so you would live out loud with good vibes only. Be self-serving with goodness to unleash your greatness. Think the good, do the good, be the good. All things good. So let's get to it. All right, welcome to Elevate the Good. We are finally here. I have one of my favorite people in the world, Kottavei. Hi, Kottavei.
We always like that one.
I know, that's right. So that's why you're here, because I need that energy. So I just want to welcome you to the inaugural show of Elevate the Good. I appreciate you showing up because I know you're an extremely busy artist.
Good stuff.
But I'm going to just start off by telling the listeners how you describe yourself, because I don't want to, So this is what was on your Facebook page. Artist, author, poet, artivist, maker, conduit, intellectual badass, mompreneur, fashion designer, ambassador of joy, and visual griot. And I had to look up griot. It's a member of a class of traveling poets, musicians, and storytellers who maintain a tradition of oral history in parts of West Africa from my Google research, that is.
Absolutely.
So, but it does not stop there. So I'm going to go on for a second. You're formerly a production designer, a college professor, and currently a high school educator of art and fashion design. And I also know that you are a single mom of 5.
Is that me?
Yes, I saw you. You have 5 boys, young men, 2 sets of twins, and 1 in the middle. Really?
Right.
That's what we're doing?
I know. 3 pregnancies, 5 sons, and apparently boys are hard to get, but I didn't get the memo.
You did. You are overachiever.
Yeah.
So how old are they? What are they age?
So my older twins are 19, and they're in college. They're runners at Kennesaw State. My middle son is 18. He's graduating in December. And then my younger twins are 11, but they're my height wearing a man's 11 shoe.
Oh, they need a job.
They need a job, for real. But they're really good boys. People hear, oh my God, you got 5 sons. And I'm like, yeah, I got 5 sons. Oh, you got a basketball team? I was like, I actually don't. Like, they all love math and science and distance running. And I guess I really love my kids. I actually like them a lot.
And I can tell.
I like
you
them
talk
a lot.
about them a lot. And you speak highly of them. And they obviously love you because they take really, really good care of you. Yeah. And I just want to put it out there. You are a single mom of 5 boys.
Super single mom.
So let's be real clear about that.
Physically, financially, it's all me and it's a lot of work. But they deserve it. Mm-hmm. And whatever I can do now in this part of the journey to make their long-term journey a little bit easier, I'm going to do it.
Well, you're doing it.
We're always supposed to want that next level of better for our kids, whatever that means. And I'm not talking about stuff. I'm talking about a sense of well-being and quality of life. And I want that for them. So I'm willing to take the hits now so they can have that long term.
Right. And then, I think it's also that you're a great example of just living life out loud because you're still being you. Because when I met you, it was some years ago. You were doing my girl's show, Shea Pagaze. And we were down at the Port of Sanford Art Center, Educator. And I'm looking at this artwork and I was just blown away. Then I met you and then you were telling me, I have 5 boys. And I'm sitting there like, I have me and no kids. How are you doing this? And then creating this art and even making the time. And they were little then. Mm-hmm. So, they weren't self-sufficient. So I just could not wrap my brain around like, how were you able to come up with these beautiful images? Like, how do you do it? Like,
it was a threshing ground back then. Because being a parent, you need to teach your kids certain tools to survive. And so I would go do art gigs and take them with me. Mm. So now they're kind of over it. They're like, no, we're good. We don't need another art show, fashion show, but you do you. And because I have 5 males in my house, my art up till now has been distinctly feminine and female. Because I had to add balance. I'm the only one in my house that's a woman and finding that balance. And I think also... for me not to make my art is for me not to be who I am. I don't think my kids or anybody else would like me if I was not creating. This is not something I chose. It came into the world with me intuitively. And I tell people it's my first love outside of my daddy.
I like that.
My art is everything. And even now when my sons, when I'm a little grumpy or not having a great day, they're like, ooh, Mom, you get on our nerves.
They come and just hand you a paintbrush.
No, they're like, you need to go to your art studio or get on a plane because we can't take you right now. We can't cope. But all my boys cook, they all clean, they all do laundry, they are self-sufficient now.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to take care of other people. So now if I don't want to cook, I don't have to. I do it because I enjoy it.
Okay.
But it was hard finding that balance when they were smaller.
Oh,
And
sure.
I remember one instance, I was supposed to be on an artist panel. And this is when my younger twins were little. They had to be maybe 2, maybe. And I got invited to do this panel, and I couldn't get a babysitter. So I could have just called and said, I'm not coming. I showed up. I showed up, and I sat on that panel with a baby on each lap.
Oh, yeah.
Panel. And people were like, is she doing this for real? I was like, yeah, I'm doing this.
But that's life. You know what I mean?
Life.
That's that's really living out loud and showing people you can show up and be your full self. Because a picture doesn't have to be some certain way. Like, you got to tuck your kids away. They're a part of you.
They're a part of
you.
you.
And I think, that's a shame if, you can't be your full self. And if you're a mom, you can't show all of your mom stuff. Like, especially in a corporate situation, you got to pretend like while you're at work, you got to shut that part of your life down. And I think you're a perfect example of your art and your life and who you are encompasses all of that.
I think one thing I stress, because I run into a lot of other single moms, they're like, how do you do it? I was like, I don't know. But I think as a mother, especially a single mother, and even some women I know who are mothers and married, sometimes there are moments you feel like a single parent because you're just doing so much.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge that you are a whole woman and a whole person before you brought additional humans into the world. And so many women, and I have to say willingly do it, relinquish their full self of being a woman to be a mother. And my kids wouldn't even like me if I did that, because I have to have the things that make me who I am so that they can understand I'm a whole entity outside of them and not just your mom. I'm so much more than that. Absolutely. So now my son's friends follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and they're like, did you see mom too? She skydived. I'm going to do that when I get big. And so just showing them that there's a whole person within motherhood, not separate. They're not two separate things. They can be intrinsically linked, and both parts still matter.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so cool, because I know when I'm not doing all of me, I am not a happy camper. Trust me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I try to do a lot of stuff because I'm good at a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean that's coming from this organic place, especially if I'm doing stuff just for money. And I'm not good with that. And there is a time, I've done a 9-to-5 corporate thing when it was more long term and I didn't have an end date. Miserable, because it wasn't me. And so for me, I am a Jill of all trades and a master of being a Jill of all trades. Like, I just like spontaneity. I like create, just like a diversity of things. Yeah. That does sound so much better.
It does. I can hear this.
Oh, great. So yeah, when I'm not being, fully, engaged in the activities that I like to participate, I'm just not a happy camper, and I don't think the world benefits from that. It's a disservice,
right?
Because it's not putting out good energy. It's not putting out good vibes.
I think your well-being and how you walk around informs other people of who you are and how to treat you.
Exactly.
I've walked around occasionally in a bad mood, and people are like, and I can't even see that on people coming at me sideways. Like yesterday, I had a moment like that, and I just kind of stayed to myself. It wasn't a bad moment. Friday, I didn't get something I wanted, and I wanted it bad. Like I was determined that I was supposed to have this thing, but then I was like, okay, I had to switch my thoughts just that quick. And what I said and posted is sometimes not getting what you want is actually a good thing, and you just can't see it in that moment. And so having to switch that negative to something, I can't say it was positive, but it's changed the way I was thinking about it. I elevated the good and flipped it, and then I sat with myself all day and had a conversation with myself, because I talked to myself. I'm like, look, Kottavei, this is what we're going to do. That opportunity was not yours, and that's okay.
You're supposed to talk to yourself about it.
I answer myself too.
I
talk to myself and answer myself.
You're supposed to. I mean, and that's really coming, you go into your inner being, because answers from without is always going to confuse you. But yes, that's good. You absolutely elevate the good. You take a situation and you make it best for your well-being, and that's really what it's all about. But just like as a quick thing, Kottavei.
Yes.
Your name.
Yes.
What is it? Where did it come from? What does it mean?
So when I was in my 20s, I had some trauma. And it was not my given middle name.
Okay.
I went to some Yoruba priestesses and was like, listen, this is what happened. I cannot stand to hear my given first and middle name together because of this trauma. And that was the name they gave me. And I legally made it my middle name. And it means there's a goddess in India named Kali. And in the small regions, the Tamil's called Kali Kottavei. My name means warrior goddess of victory.
Ooh.
And so I just fully took that on. She's like fire and brimstone and ripping heads off, but she's also very nurturing.
Okay.
She's that way because she takes care of everybody who's behind her. She's a warrior. And so I said I own that. And so all my books, all of my art, everything I do from then forward has been Kottavei. So I've had that for over some years, a long time. And
I never knew that.
it's very much a part of me.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was your given name.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
And my family, even my dad and some of my, they call me that now. They will lightweight. Well, most of my brothers just calls me big head, but
Right.
they don't ever call me, and my sisters call me sis, but they acknowledge that this name I've received is part of me. And when you shift your name from what it was, it takes people a while to adapt, and some people refuse. But I think when you insist on being who you are, I always say I'll name myself, whether it's like you saw that list you named, I was like, did I write all that?
Yep.
I'm always going to name myself, and I'm always going to describe myself as I see myself.
Gotcha.
Because other people will always feel free to tell you who you are if you don't know.
Right. So
Happily,
with that being said, so it's like you also said artivist. What does that mean for you?
That's an artist activist. I believe art, like I'm a visual griot. We know about everybody that came before us based on what the creatives left.
Mm-hmm.
The artists, the musicians, the writers, the architects. That's how we know all these other civilizations existed, artifacts. And so as a visual griot, when I make my art, every time I make something, it's me telling a visual story, a visual narrative. And I don't have to explain it. People can look at it and interpret and discern the parts of it. And so I think it's important that we document the world as we see it, especially as artists. And so that artivist comes into there. So I can take that now and use it towards the good. I can elevate the good with my art by saying, hey, this piece is about, you taking away women's rights to their reproductive rights. I've done stuff with that for Google has a museum. I have some work on the Google Museum online for that.
Go check it out.
I've worked with Tony Blair on the malaria project.
Oh, wow.
Medical supplies are thrown out here, even if they're still hermetically sealed. And so that organization takes these medical supplies, puts them on a ship, and sends them to countries that can't afford medical supplies. So I worked on that. So things like that, where you take your art or your level of creativity and you become an activist, artivist. It's both of those together.
Makes sense.
So I try to do it, and I try to do it very quietly typically. That's one thing about me. My friends are like, you need to roar more, and I'm so quiet.
I know, we play small.
That's
why
I do.
Elevate the Good is becoming what it is, because I need to stop playing small.
Stop playing small.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's what we do. But, it's our time.
I think
The
sometimes
shift is
your own greatness can scare you. If you know,
Yeah.
well, for me.
No, I feel that.
Some people are afraid of failing. I know my stuff is already predetermined and destined. So it's like, ooh, let me just lean into, ooh. Okay, now let me lean into it again.
My thing is, I've realized in my shift that's been happening that I was kind of fearful of being overbearing, because being too powerful. Because I know I'm a natural born leader, and I've always been that. But then I will pull back because I'm like, I don't want to be too much. So
But don't you find that's an issue? Well, I'm gonna start
it's
with
an issue
issue
for other people,
for
and
other
everything.
people.
And I was always trying to make everyone else comfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm over that right now.
Oh, I stopped doing that. It's like, if you're uncomfortable, you feel free to leave my presence. And it's not that I don't want you here, but I even say that now. My job is not to make you comfortable.
Right.
It's not.
Trust me, it's a shift.
Even when I teach, my students
I'm an
will tell
empath,
you,
so that's where it comes from.
you can't absorb all that. But my students will tell you, I walk in like day one, like, listen, I'm not the one for you to be comfortable. If you're in my class and you're not uncomfortable, I'm doing something wrong. Raise your hand and let me know that you're not
You
uncomfortable.
see, that's the thing. I don't have where I'm working on. The shift is helping me. I didn't have a middle ground. I'm either off or I'm on.
But you don't have to be middle ground.
No, but I'm saying, I was literally one or the other. It was not, and so I was leaving myself out of the equation. So it was like either I'm gonna be all for me,
Right.
bump you,
Right.
or I'm gonna be so much for you and then bump me, and that's just not a happy medium. You know what I mean? It just wasn't serving anyone. So that's why I was like, well, if I do this thing, I know I'm gonna be too overwhelming and too overbearing. So let me just not do it. So then I'll just reel it in. So yeah.
And balance is everything. I think me being an ambivert, I fluctuate between being an extrovert and an introvert. And so that has helped me do what you're talking about.
Right.
Doing, not doing
and that's something you said it because I just put a meme on Facebook and I said that I am an introvert with extrovert tendencies.
So you're an ambivert too.
Right. So when I'm with myself, I'm enjoying my time, and when I'm with you, I'm enjoying my time with you.
Yeah.
So I'm both, because it's like one of those things I had to like really embrace, because I grew up like making myself be an extrovert because I was with powerful people and outgoing people, and I wanted to participate in plays and sports and this. So, but you couldn't be like a wallflower because I was one of those people being an empath. Yeah. I would also, connect to the wallflowers and try to make people feel good. But then I'm over there with the rowdy people having fun, kicking and whatever. So, as I've gotten older, I've embraced being an introvert. I need that time to come in and download and decompress, and then the creativity stuff comes out. And then when I'm out there, it's like you see all this stuff, and then it's like it's coming at you so fast.
I'm trying to find balance with that.
Yeah,
it's hard because it's like it's times I want to be alone. It's like, oh, there's kids here, and they're like, but you're in your room away, and I'm like, but I feel their presence in the house. Yes. So I get that. I think we as people, you have to have the alone time and some socialization time, but it's finding that balance between it. And everything right now is so glaring. I would say we're so plugged in that we're not plugged into each other. Like we're plugged into our phones, we're plugged into technology, we're plugged in. We don't want to know how to unplug and get that time and be alone with ourselves. So many people can't sit with themselves, or you don't know how to plug in like one-on-one and have like a conversation. So my dad came down, he turned 78 in July. He came down, and my kids and I were fighting over him, like, I want my time with daddy, but we want time with granny. Right. So we would sit on the porch in the morning and drink coffee, and then in the evening we sit around and talk. And just being able to do that with him. I have so many people my age don't like their parents or don't want them around. And here I am like fighting my kids, like, can I get some time with my own daddy? Right. And my sister's like, I'm coming over. No, don't come over. It's my daddy. And so finding that balance, and at this stage, how do you balance career, and if you're a parent, if you're an artist doing that, how do you balance all the components of your life so it feels fluid and not painful in any area? Right. That you're able to be strong in all of those areas. Right.
So with that being said, so you being an artist and you are in your creative moments, so where are you now with your creativity? Ooh. Like one of the favorite pieces that is the one with the lady, she's screaming and the bees are coming out, because I'm a hobbyist beekeeper. And I am.
You're gonna be so mad at me in a minute.
Okay. So no, I know you sold it.
I just sold it. No,
but I'm happy about that.
This woman picked up 3 pieces. How about she didn't tell me until after she's a beekeeper?
See, there we go. And it's such a powerful piece. So where are you now? Like, let's talk about that particular piece. What does that mean?
That piece was from a series I did called Pollination, a dissection of women and bees both belonging. Because if bees go, it's only a matter of time before we go. If women go, give it up. If we stop producing, it's over. And so it's about the extinction of 2 very needed things in the treatment of bees and the treatment of women in society. They both matter in a huge way. So one or other goes. So that's what that show was about. Both my parents were scientists, ironically enough. My mother was a chemist, my dad's an entomologist. And so I have a natural love for insects and trees and stuff. And so it was almost an homage to him and my mother to pair this insect with women and tell the narrative of what they mean. Even my artist signature, Kottavei, it's all math and science symbols. K, potassium, O, oxygen, double T's, pi. Like all of I'm a big nerd. Like I say, intellectual and bad. I'm a big nerd. Even my signature is all science and math symbols as an artist, in homage to my parents.
So now I gotta go look deep.
You gotta
I'm gonna actually put that particular piece on my Facebook page so people can see. I'll put some other stuff on there, but that's one of my favorite, and that's one of the reasons I even became a beekeeper, because they're becoming extinct, and we need our food.
Yeah, they do. 75% of the population.
Right, and there's no science. There is no science, or there's nothing that humans we'll never be able to pollinate our food at the rate that bees do it.
Never.
But so
that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
Frankenfood, but
exactly right.
But in terms of my art, ironically enough, as a teacher, I'm off in summers. It's in mid-August. I've not made art since end of May.
Okay, that doesn't sound right.
I know. Me either.
I've never heard you say that.
I know. I've been in this space where I was so depleted I couldn't create.
And
I realized the work I was making, though I loved it, those were meant to get new homes. And I'm making completely different work. This a deviation from what I was making. It's not figurative. It's completely different. And again, it goes back to my parents' science roots. The art I'm going to be making now, when that spirit fully comes back. She came back to play. I just haven't had time to get out and experiment. But it deals with latent memory. Like, we can prove physical DNA, who we belong to and how we're connected. But I also believe that we take on the environmental and emotional memory of our ancestors generationally. And that too comes with us, though we can't prove it. And talking to my dad, there's a whole term, because we as women, we come into the world with all the eggs we're going to have. So I have my mother's eggs and her mother's eggs and all that. And so there's a continuum. So I say to myself, what if that desire for unrequited love is not you, but maybe your great grandmother who couldn't have the man she wanted or was snatched from her? Or what if you go somewhere, you smell the smell, and you know you smelled it before, but you've never been there. It's scent memory from my great grandmother who did stand on the coast of Ghana or wherever. And so that's what these pieces are about. I had a dream about my grandfather, and so I've been working on these pieces, and hear me out. The materials I'm using are shoe polish, tobacco juice, menstrual blood, teeth, things like that, like living parts that have come from. And so part of my dynamic is to engage all 6 senses, the 5 we know and the 1 I acknowledge in my work. And so when you look at it, it really is a roadmap to all the generations and places I've been, and eventually I'll bring in other people's roadmaps, talk to them about it. But they'll be somewhat abstract. There'll be moments of acknowledgement. I'm going to incorporate some text in there. So I'm literally just deviating. And it's not about the art selling. It's about me making what's coming through my spirit right now.
So are you going to actually have an exhibition of this art? Or is it a personal work?
Well, the first piece I'm putting in a show that I'm in October. It's a textile show.
Okay, where is this show?
This will be at Aviation Art Center. I'm part of a textile show that's going to be there in October. And I'll send you the date for that. And then next year, I was offered a solo show. And that work show is going to be all of this.
Okay. And where is that show going to be?
I can't talk about it yet.
Okay, so we're going to put links in the
I'll
Facebook page for Elevate the Good for her stuff. And then, I'll also put links to her pages and all her websites, so you'll be able to, keep up with her.
But that came about because it was me and my dad and my brother. So we all sitting in my bedroom talking, because that's where everybody congregates in my house. And one of my guy friends was there just chilling, and we were talking about, latent memory and scientific that. And he left. He was like, "Is this what you and your family talk about when y'all get together?" I was like, "Well, yeah." It was just different. I didn't realize everybody didn't do this. And so now making this deviation on this new work, it's a little scary, but I have to make the work that comes from my spirit. I don't do well, like you were saying, making work that's dictated. I don't do over the sofa work. I mean, you can hang it there when I'm done, but I have to make what comes through my spirit. And when I'm done, okay, hands off, you can buy it now. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I mean, because really, I've even managed artists, and I've had where...
Oh, I didn't know that. I need
Daryl Lane was one of the main ones, and we used to hit the road a lot or whatever, because, as artists, you want to create. You don't want to do all the bookkeeping and the scheduling and all the other stuff. But saying that to say that people would come up to us in art shows and like, well, I need such and such and such, over my sofa, or do you have that in blue instead of green? And it's like, this is what they do.
What they do. And
you have to respect that. You don't have to, but it's best that you respect that, because they're creating what they're creating. And, it's not, if you want something, you can go Google something and then find something and get it in whatever color. But I'm not going to say it's disrespectful. It's just not thoughtful.
Right.
To be able, when you approach an artist and then thinking, if you're commissioning them for something.
That's different.
But then all artists don't necessarily work under commission.
I choose my commissions. It has to be, okay, I need 90% freedom. And they're like, either I'm the person or I'm not. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'll tell people no. I've not sold art to certain people. But you know what I say to my clients who do buy my work because they connected?
What you say?
Thank you for giving my art a good home.
Boom.
Just like I gave my baby, like, thank you for giving my little baby a good... My art is like my children. I create my art like I create and raise my babies. Like, thank you for giving it a good home. I'm so appreciative. They're like, really? Like, I feel so honored to have a piece. And I was like, but you could do a whole lot of other things with your money. So thank you for putting this in your home. And almost assuredly, most of them come back. and they get more stuff. So it's like, this is what I have, you know, like I said, you buy it when I'm done, but I don't create for other people. I create for me.
Excellent. Yeah.
Period.
So speaking of creativity and creating for other people, you are also a poet / author.
Yeah.
Lotus and Tree. I got one of her books up here. I got one of her books. Okay. I know I should have more, but that's okay. So I'm going to go down the list. It's Mental Course, Modern Erotic Senryu.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look that up too.
Yeah.
That's a human haiku.
Yeah, it's like haiku related to the human experience.
Boom.
Yeah.
Haiku-etry. Teachers Teach Her. That's an introduction to Black women visual artists.
Right.
Tapestries, a creative and inclusive approach to grief support and communities. Next, Mixtape Revolutionaries.
Yeah.
That's poetry for young readers. And Lotus and Tree, a book of poetry.
That's my last one.
So, where and how do you even start writing? How long have you been writing?
My whole life.
Okay.
I just did not start sharing it until my adult life. That first book I wrote, Mental Course, I wanted to publish a book. I'm going to publish a book. I actually had a publisher and she stole all my royalties. And at that point, I figured I had to publish my own books.
There you go.
And I've shown other people how to do it. Like, it doesn't have to cost you money. This is how you do it, and then you collect the checks. So that was my first book was erotic. And my dad, you know, he's a pastor. He's retired now. He was like, but no, he got it insured. My baby wrote this book, and it's extra, but y'all buy it, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's part of human experience. And mental Mixtape Revolutionaries, you know, my younger twins were little, and they would get the books and be like, Mommy, we want to read the books, but we can't read the words. Can you write us a book? I was like, well, yeah. So the pictures in that book are actually of my son, and it's books for them. And I wrote a few poems for them, like, I do not like green things. Because my friend Miles was like, you can keep them vegetables. Like, I'm good. And he went on to say all these green things that are disgusting, and he ends up liking vegetables. So I wrote that for them, and it's actually in the library of their elementary school. I gave them a copy, and so a lot of the books, Teachers Teach Her, when I got my master's, that was my capstone with Kennesaw State. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this based on my research, but let me publish this book right quick. And
I like it.
Copied all my professors on my presentation day. And they were like, when did you have time to write a book? I was like, it's part of the capstone. And it really is like a workbook. You can work your way through research and get to know these 60 artists. I think it's important to acknowledge the people that look like you, because my research when I was in grad school was called Aesthetic Discrimination, Black Girls and Invisibility in Art Education Classroom. And a lot of young Black women give up being artists because they don't see themselves or the imagery is negative.
Exactly. That's why, well, that's one of the many reasons you're here today.
Elevate that good.
To elevate the good and to show that you can be all of the things that you want if you make time. You know, you focus on it. You don't have to be one thing, because I'm bored when I'm just doing one thing.
No,
so, you know, and just to kind of trigger those reminders, like, oh, I did want to write a book, or I used to do this thing, or I want to, or, you know, it doesn't even have to be necessarily anything creative. You're a science or whatever. So that's why you're here for me in this particular time, because I feel a shift happening, and people are feeling stagnant and in a rut. But we need to motivate them, or I want to motivate them.
Well, people don't have to choose. People feel like I have to choose, and you don't. Now, you may not be able to do all of it 100, but what if you did this thing at 70%, this one, if you get a little bit of enough to satisfy your spirit? And I'm working on my next book. My birthday's in December, and my birthday is my new year. Okay. So I'm trying to bring the book out in November. And I started writing this book a couple of years ago, and I stopped because the subject matter, I don't know anything about love.
We need love.
Yeah, we need love. But, you know, I'm not in a relationship, so it's like, okay. But the book is called Honeysuckle Bullets and Other Love Narratives. Because love's intoxicating. It makes you swoon like honeysuckle in spring, but it will lay you on your ass like a bullet. Like that. So that's the concept, like the sweet and the bitter of love, and finding that balance in between. So
Honeysuckle Bullet
and Other Love Narratives.
That's powerful.
And some of it's my own. The names have been changed to protect it.
Well, look, that's why a couple of my books have been on my ear, because I was like, those people gonna have to die before I read
changed.
Like,
now, oh my goodness, the names have been changed. And some of it's stories I've heard from girlfriends and friends, because sometimes you're just looking at your girlfriends like, what happened there? What bush were you jumping out of? Wait, what happened?
Right. Or, you doing that again?
Again?
With a different person? that. Like, I know this time for real.
For real. Like,
I'm like, yeah, right.
Got the door locked with a Cheeto. Like, I'm not letting it back in. Oh, okay, girl. And so it's those kind of things that we can all relate to because we've done it. Mm-hmm. I've done some things I'm not exactly proud of, especially in my 20s when I was trying to figure it out. In my 40s now, I'm so less tolerant. I was like, oh, that's so cute of you trying to run a game on me. Does that really work on people? Mm-hmm. And just my approach is different, and I'm always kind with it. But I can see toxicity and stuff coming a mile away, and I'm like, blocks toxicity, right? Like a superhero.
Right, and that's what you got to do. You have to conserve your energy. You got to be able to be discerning enough to know what's for you and what's not for you. And another way of saying that is having boundaries.
Oh, absolutely.
But you have to be conscious. You have to be awakened enough, and that's self-love. And I'm on a self-love tour right now. Yeah, I've been doing it for last year, but I've been extending to folks around me. Like, the self-love, it's like you have to be clear about who you are and what you want, because then you won't accept just anything.
That's a whole word right there.
You know what I mean?
And I'm grateful that, like, I've had my dad in my life my whole life, and my brother. They treated me well. Right. They still treat me well. Uh-huh. And so it's like what now?
Your little standards. Exactly.
I have standards, and my dad's. I realize I don't have a physical type too. This is funny. Mm-hmm. I don't have a physical type. My type is intellectual. Mm. Tall, short, dark, skinny. I can take all intellectual. You gotta massage my brain. Okay. And that's even my girlfriend.
So you can't be talking about stupid to you.
I don't want to hear about stupid stuff. Like, I talk about hair and nails for like 5 minutes, but can we talk about what's happening in politics and art and news and revolution? Can we talk about all of that? Like, that's what I want to talk about. And can we have those conversations early in the morning and late at night? If not, I'm good.
Right.
Because I can have those conversations with myself when I'm
exactly. Like, what's up?
Yeah, girl, what you think about that?
Exactly.
I don't know.
So the book is going to be released in November. Honeysuckle Bullet.
And Other Love Narratives. So I'm shooting for November. I'm doing the art in there and on the cover. Okay. I do most of my books.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure we put some links to that. And we're going to, keep up on that. So now, this is something I really want to talk about. So the Bodycast.
Oh, yeah.
So you do these wonderful, what is that?
Get one.
What is it?
So
I know you say them.
When I had all my sons and they were little, I was a stay-at-home, when I was still married, I was a stay-at-home mom for 4 years. Quit my job as a college professor. You don't have to. Okay. As a college professor to stay home. But I could not be around all this maleness. I was like, I needed something distinctly female. So it was either dealing with one thing or, pregnancy. So I was like, I'm going to do these belly casts. I got a couple of friends to volunteer. And I started advertising it under Sage Belly, and I would do the body cast.
So describe what the body cast is.
So the body cast is I use medical grade plaster strips, and I make a mold of the belly. But I take it a step further. I talk to my client and actually put art on top of it. Mm-hmm. And then it can be hung in the nursery. It becomes its own work of art. But what happened is half of my clients were not pregnant. They were just embracing their bodies. So my hook became Embrace the Incomparable You. So about half the body casts I've done are non-pregnant women. I've also, you talk about that level of artivist, women who are losing their breast to breast cancer. I've done molds of their brests before they had them removed and made them celebratory. We celebrated the girls. So they have that. They have that. Or I had a woman, she was coming up on her 50. I cast her front and her back, and it was a totem on the front and the back of her life on both of these casts. I've had married couples, I've cast like their hands linked together on their anniversary. I've done little baby tushes. And then I put art on top. So it really elevates what the work, and it's their own work of art. I actually cast all 5 of my sons when they were little. Oh. And their little bellies were this big, and now they're like grown men with muscles and stuff. And they were like, I can't believe I was that small. Wow. And the thing about it is very embracing. I don't advertise it anymore. People just know and send me clients. But I also have to be right in my spirit to do it because I'm touching people in their person. And so I have to make sure that I'm very careful that my spirit's right. So when I'm touching them, I remember I drove all the way to Alabama for a client. She was pregnant, and she was like, I can't drive, but I really want to get this done. I said, I'll come to you. She's like, for real? So I drove down there, and her husband was there, and my spirit said, talk to her while you're doing this, because she needs something for you. So I'm talking to her about being a parent, and massaging the belly and talking to the baby, hey, and doing the thing. She burst into tears. I was like, I'm sorry, did I do something? She's like, no, her husband just walked away. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm in trouble now. Mm-hmm. She's crying. She was like, no, I needed this because I don't have a lot of girlfriends. Aww. And I'm here, my family's going, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, you got this. Like, you're built for this.
Trust me.
Right?
You were definitely expert on that part.
And then I go in the room with her husband, and he's crying. And I'm like, what happened? Like, I done broke up everybody. He was like, you just did in 20 minutes what I haven't been able to do for 9 months.
Wow.
You just made her feel better. And I'm in there crying at this point. Like, I'm tearing up thinking about it. And I leave, and he pays me in like an envelope. So I get home, and I open it up, and I'm depositing. This man went in there and wrote me a note about how grateful he was about doing that for his wife.
Oh, you're getting teary.
I am thinking about it because it was such, you don't realize the impact you're having on people.
Exactly. Stop. Okay, you don't get
I know,
started.
I'm sorry.
Stop.
You don't realize the impact you're having on people until it's acknowledged. And oftentimes people don't acknowledge it because there's a sense of shame around it or a sense of, I may offend this person, but for both of them in that moment to acknowledge that what I brought to the table mattered, not just to her, but to him too. And now they got the baby and everything's good. I get pictures every now and again.
That is awesome.
But I started
to do Bodycast too?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. One of my girlfriends.
Was I one with the ass?
Yeah. I did.
I want to count before I get it.
Not listen, when it's high and tight. I did one of my friends, and her husband loved jazz, and so I did these 3-dimensional raised piano keys. And so she said she hung it up on the wall because it was for him. And now he like walks in the room, he's like looking at the Bodycast, and she's like, I'm right here. He's like, oh, okay. He's still like staring at it. And so, but it's really, really embracing thing to do.
I want some butterflies on mine.
Oh, you can do whatever. I can make dimensional butterflies on it. Like one of my friends, Nicola, she's a poet. I did hers. Hers has actual river rock snaking down like it's a river with these coppery colors. I have a client, I did all 3 of her babies. So when you walk in her house, all 3 of them are lined up together. And she's like, oh my gosh, my bellies were so different.
That's so cool.
But half my clients aren't pregnant.
So you are still taking clients?
I am. And the funny thing is, I actually cast both my parents' hands while my mother was still living. She passed away 2 years ago, and she's an AKA like I am. And she, I did both her hands, and I put pictures of her on there from the 60s, and the pink and the ivy. And then my dad, and mounted them on a board. So we still have her hands.
Awesome. And
my dad, he's a passionate scientist. So one was like his spiritual hand, and one was like his secular hand. And so I have my dad's hands right there that I cast. And so things like that, and the irony of me casting my mother's hands, one of the last pictures I have of her is our hands together. I just took a picture of me holding her hand.
I think I just saw that on Facebook or something. I think I have a picture of that. Yeah.
So it's a powerful thing to embrace. I've cast men too.
Okay.
I had a couple of guys.
Part of the men you cast?
Listen, that's extra. I don't do that. Plus that plastic. No, that's too much. That's something else. But like their chest or their back. I had a guy, he owned a gym, and so I cast his front and his back, and I put his gym stuff up on it, and it hangs up on the wall in his gym he manages with private clients. Oh, cool. So it's for everybody, but I don't cast that part. Like, that's something else. Like Carla recommended.
Okay, let's move on before we get in trouble. Okay, so let me jump to, because it's so much, fashion designer.
Oh, yeah.
So I know you teach fashion design at the high school, but we're going to talk about that later in terms of high school.
Okay.
But right now, what I was excited about. So back in, I guess, December, whenever the Emmys were going down, and you co-collaborated on this beautiful dress for the Emmys. And what is the author's name again?
Nettie Okafor. She is a sci-fi writer.
Yes.
And my friend Therese Fleetwood and I had made this. Hey Therese, shout out. These beautiful dresses. Therese made the dresses, but I silk painted a narrative on both the dresses. And Nettie reached out through somebody else. Somebody said on Facebook, actually said she needed a dress. So we sent her the images, and that's the dress she picked, and she wore it to the Emmys with George R.R. Martin, who does Game of Thrones, because he's turning her book into a show for HBO.
I know. And what's the name of it again?
Who Fears Death.
There we go.
And it takes place in post-apocalyptic Africa. Like, she's this dynamo. She's so much more than a sci-fi writer. And she loves entomology. We love bugs and insects. Like, I admire her so much. And she was my favorite author, one of them, before we dressed her.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm in there jumping up and down, and my students are coming in like, is this you? Did you do this?
But you know what's so weird? Because I don't even really watch award shows. Mm-hmm. And I saw that as I was flipping the channel. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, that looks like something Kottavei would do. And then it was months later before I put it together. I was like, that was her. Oh my, I mean,
because I'm so quiet with everything.
that's crazy that I even picked up on it though.
Yeah.
But this dress is so beautiful. I'm also gonna put that on the Facebook
Okay.
page. I'm gonna put a picture of that because that thing, and she wore it. She
worked it. And the thing is, a lot of pictures now, people capture that photo of her to put on articles. We had an outlet from Nigeria, Brittle Paper, interview us because she wore that dress. They wanted to know who we were.
Yes.
And so that was really, really cool.
The design of the dress, because it's like an A-line, like Therese did a great job, so
She
we gave
did.
you a great palette.
Silhouette and palette.
Yeah.
And, you know, Nettie doesn't like her stuff to fit a certain way. And so she looked beautiful in it. I also did another partnership with Therese at the W last year, Art Mezzo.
Oh, cool.
And we did these other hand-painted dresses that showcase. And so, you know, you have those people you work with that you work well together. But yeah, so I did that, and just recently, so for one of my fashion clubs at school, we made corsets a couple of years ago. My friend said, I need something to wear to the National Black Arts Festival. I was like, well, I have this corset I made, and she was like, oh, give me that. And she wore it. She slayed. Like, she was all over with that corset and the outfit because she looked so beautiful in it. So that made me feel good. I was like, oh, you look so pretty.
Yeah, so you gotta give me pictures of that because I want to put all this so
that.
they can. I want my folks to see your stuff because your stuff is so creative, so out there, approachable at the same time, and it gives you some kind of energetic response to it. It's not just I threw some colors on some stuff.
But people ask me, do you sew for people? No. Like
Well,
and I try not to. The reason I say no is because I like projects like that. But when I was in college, I paid part of my way through college making wedding dresses and christening gowns. So I dealt with bridezillas for years.
You over that.
I really, really have to love you to sew for you. Like my nieces are like, honey, can you make me a prom dress? Okay, I got you. But I don't typically sew for people. What I do now, instead of giving them fish, I teach them how to fish.
Yeah, because one of those things, my mom taught me how to sew when I was young. Now I was young and didn't want to know how to sew.
Yeah, it's a good skill.
But as I became older and I did pageants and all kind of stuff when I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't come up with a bomb dress or whatever, I was like,
that's the way to do it.
And now, even now, simple things like a hem, putting on a button, just whatever, like people are just like amazed, like, oh my God. I'm like, it's really not that deep. But at the same time, it is a good skill to have. But so let me kind of fast forward go back to your whole thing with the high school, your educator. That is your full-time job.
It is my full-time job.
Yes, she has a full-time job on top of everything we're talking about. So you teach art and fashion designer?
I teach art and fashion design, and I also just recently added a costume tech class because we do a lot of plays at my high school, and so now I'm teaching kids how to make costumes for movies and theater and break down scripts. But yeah, I like to see the light go on, and a lot of my kids are out doing amazing things. They have their own brands. They're, taking what they learned with them and doing additional things with them. SCAD came and handed one of my kids a check for $46,000 last year to show. We do a huge show every year, and 700 to 1,000 people come, and so these kids are showcasing their work, and they're so proud afterwards to know that I did this. Like, I didn't know I could do this, and I did this.
Right.
And it's nice to see that light bulb go on for them.
That is so cool. Because you do like you said, you do the fashion show at the end of the school year, correct?
Yeah.
And so, do you teach adults too, by the way?
Well, I am. So I'll be teaching at an local art center, sewing classes coming up this fall and probably in the spring. So just getting to the place where I can share what I know, because it's a skill. They don't teach home economics in school anymore like they did when I was in school. So getting those skill sets you need to be able to adult or be an adult. That's one of them I think is really important.
Just even with your painting and all the other stuff, like would you or do you do like artist retreats or workshops or?
I'm open to it. Like I have done some in the past where I was asked. I've done. So when I'm asked and it feels good, feels like it's right, I'm definitely down for it. Like I do it. I always say, I don't teach creativity, I excavate it. We all have something we're creative in. Whether me it's art or sometimes it's food because I love to cook and bake. So between those, I'm going to excavate.
Because you have the Makerspace, which is a whole nother thing. So tell about the Makerspace real quick.
So last year on my birthday, I decided I wanted a business. And so I started Kottavei Mobile Makerspace. I want to bring classes to people in their home because oftentimes we can't get out. And I've been failing and coming back together and failing and coming back together with it because I wanted to do this and I was excited, But I was like, oh snap, my life. I have to rearrange the way I'm thinking about doing it because I have to make sure I manage the other parts of my life. And so it's been slower than I want. But I do want to bring these non-traditional classes to people's homes. Let's make some soup and artisan bread. Let's make, waist beads. Let's, whatever it is you want to make.
Quilts, because you do quilts.
Let's
too.
make quilts. Whatever it is you want to learn. Because I do so many things. Ask me. Let me come into your home. You get together a group of friends. And let me show you how to do this.
Okay, cool. We're going to put all of that out there. So tell me how we can get in touch with you. Tell me all your social media
Okay. My Instagram is at Kottavei. My Twitter is at The Real Kottavei. Because I'm going to need that eventually. My Facebook, I have a Facebook page for Kottavei and Kottavei Makerspace. And then you can always reach me at my email, which is sagebellyart@yahoo.com.
And that's Sage as in SAGE belly? Okay.
BELLYART @yahoo.com.
Okay.
So, and I'm pretty easy to reach, If you find me on social media, my phone's there, you can reach out.
Okay. So now, I know you love Elevate the Good so much that if my audience want to reach out and purchase some stuff, can we get that?
So if you listen to this podcast and you mention that there's a piece you want, 10% off with free delivery or free shipping to wherever you are.
Okay, so with that being said, what's today, the 18th? So we're going to give a promo code of ETG818. So if you place an order, and is that for a limited time?
Well, we could just do it for a while.
Okay, so it's ETG818, and you get the 10% off, free shipping and/or delivery if you're local. We are in Atlanta, so and she is out west of us. So just all right, hit her up. So, Kottavei,
thank you.
I knew this was gonna be perfect. I am so grateful.
You need to elevate the good Bodycast now.
I gotta dance when I say it. But yes, okay, so we gotta get butterflies on one side and elevate the good on the other side. That's how I'm gonna do that Bodycast. But thank you. I mean the words, and I know that's like for me to not have enough words to even tell you how much I appreciate you showing up, sharing just your energy. You definitely live an elevated life, which is why I invite you. Living out loud.
These are the conversations we have.
This is our regular conversation, so they don't even get that. But that's okay.
Yeah.
But I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And y'all support this sister. Look out for all the stuff that she does. Or like I said, I'm going to put links on my Facebook page, Elevate the Good. And check her out. Kottavei.
And look for her cash. She's getting cash. So Elevate the Good.
Look at my booty. Thank you. All right. Till next time.
Elevate the good.
Elevate the good. We've come to the end of a good time. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're feeling elevated. Make sure to hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel, and ring that bell below for episode notifications. Until next time, remember to elevate the good, elevate the good, elevate the good, elevate the good. Bye.